Jesus summoned the 12 and sent them out with the following instructions. Have no fear, for nothing is covered up that will not be uncovered, and nothing secret that will not become known. What I say to you in the dark, tell in the light, and what you hear whispered, proclaim from the housetops. Do not fear those who kill the body, but cannot kill the soul. Rather fear him who can destroy both soul and body in hell. Are not 2 sparrows sold for a penny? Yet not one of them will fall to the ground apart from your Father. And even the hairs of your head will be counted. So do not be afraid. You are of more value than many sparrows. Everyone, therefore, who acknowledges me before others, I will also acknowledge before my Father in heaven. But whoever denies me before others, I will also deny before my Father in heaven. This is the gospel of the Lord. Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ. The memory of the execution of Jesus was still very fresh in the minds of the Christian communities when Matthew wrote this gospel. Various accounts of his passion were in circulation, and everyone knew that it was dangerous to follow someone who had ended his life so infamously. Jesus had reminded them that if he suffered, so would they. He wanted his disciples to have no illusions about their future with him. At some time, many would suffer rejection, ill treatment, insult, misunderstanding, and even death. This was their challenge, as it is ours as well. And Jesus' answer to this call was, do not be afraid. Fear is unhealthy. It should never paralyze his disciples. They must never keep silent. They must not, on any account, stop propagating his message. He tells them how to face persecution, and they must trust in God. The mystery of God must be made known as his love for us and his project for a happier life for all. In this context, I remember one of my heroes in the church, the former Archbishop of San Salvador, St. Oscar Romero, who was assassinated while saying Mass by the death squads in El Salvador because he condemned their destructive attacks upon the poor and for the injustice meted out by the right-wing government. Initially, he was scared to confront this evil, as were the other bishops of the country. He was only appointed because he was a conservative who they thought would do absolutely nothing. That's not a surprise, is it? But God strengthens him, and he had a conversion after the death of his friend Father Rutilio Grande, who was a Jesuit. He was assassinated with a little boy and an old man. So God gave him the grace to become the voice of the poor and to condemn the evil that was being perpetrated against them. And he died defending the voiceless and the suffering poor. He had cried out constantly for peace. For those who speak out for justice and defend those persecuted in dictatorial countries, they will always suffer, as at the present moment in Nicaragua, where the current government has singled out the Catholic Church for special repression. It has even expelled the Missionary Sisters of Charity, Mother Teresa's mob, because they were working for the poor. He has imprisoned a bishop for speaking out against repression. he has expelled the papal nuncio, and in general wants to silence the Catholic Church in their calls for justice. Similarly, in Mexico, priests and social workers living and supporting the poor have been killed quite regularly because they have opposed the death-dealing drug trade and other corruption in that country.